The alarm woke Kang Minho from his sleep. He rolled over in his bed and looked at the clock. 3 in the morning. The red light on his wall was flashing, which meant someone needed him right away. As the chief human ambassador to alien worlds, he got emergency calls often, but never this early. He put on his uniform and walked to the command center. The Terran diplomatic station was quiet at this hour. Most people were sleeping. Only the night crew was working, watching the stars and listening for messages from other worlds. "What is it?" Minho asked the duty officer. "Sir, we got a message from the Galactic Council. It came on all emergency channels at the same time. They want you to see it right away." The Galactic Council was made up of 12 alien races. They had been in space much longer than humans. Their technology was better than anything humans had. Most of the time, they ignored human colonies completely. This was the first time they had sent humans any kind of official message. Minho sat down at his desk and opened the message. As he read it, his face became serious. The message was not friendly. It was a demand. The council said humans had grown too fast. In just 50 years, humans had built colonies on 47 different star systems. The council said this was dangerous. They said humans were too violent and primitive to be trusted with so much space. The message gave humans a choice. Stop expanding beyond their current worlds and accept council oversight or face the consequences. The council would send representatives to discuss terms. Humans had 1 week to agree to the meeting. Minho read the message 3 times. Each time it sounded worse. The council was treating humans like children who had been playing with fire. They wanted to control human expansion and put limits on what humans could do. He called Dr. Han Sora. She was the head of the xenobiology department. She knew more about alien races than anyone else at the station. Her voice was sleepy when she answered. "Minho, what time is it?" "Sora, I need you to come to the command center. We have a problem." 20 minutes later, Sora arrived wearing her lab coat over her pajamas. She read the council message while drinking coffee. Her expression grew worried. "This is not good," she said. "The council has never contacted humans directly before. They usually ignore new races until they become a threat." "A threat to what?" "To their power. The council controls most of this part of the galaxy. They decide which races can expand and which ones cannot. If they are contacting us, it means they see us as dangerous." Minho called Captain Lee Jaewon. Next, Jaewon commanded the Terran Defense Force ships that protected human colonies. He was tough and smart, and he had fought in several battles against space pirates. Jaewon arrived quickly. He was already dressed in his military uniform. He must not have been sleeping either. "I heard about the message," Jaewon said. "My people picked up the transmission too. What do you think they really want?" "Control," Sora said. "The council likes to keep new races weak. They offer protection in exchange for limits on growth and technology." "Protection from what?" Jaewon asked. "From them," Minho said quietly. The 3 of them sat in silence for a moment. Outside the station windows, they could see the stars. Somewhere among those stars were human colonies full of families, farmers, scientists, and engineers. All of them working to build new lives on new worlds. "What do we know about the council races?" Minho asked. Sora pulled up files on her tablet. "The Velthari are crystalline beings, very old, very advanced. They seem to be the leaders. The Nethmori are energy-based life forms. They live in gas clouds and can travel through space without ships. The Kresh are insect-like. They build massive hive structures and think as a group mind." "Weapons?" Jaewon asked. "Unknown. We have never seen their military ships up close, But their civilian technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their military technology must be even better. Minho stood up and walked to the window. Earth was too far away to see, but he knew it was out there. Along with all the other human worlds that people had worked so hard to build, we cannot let them stop human expansion, he said. People left Earth to be free, to build new lives. If we accept Council control, we become their slaves. But if we refuse, Sora said, they might destroy us. The Council has weapons we cannot imagine. Maybe, Jaewon said. But humans are good at surviving. We adapt fast. We learn from our enemies. The Council might be surprised by what we can do. Minho made his decision. Send a reply. Tell them we will meet with their representatives. But make it clear that humans will not accept limits on our freedom or our growth. Where should we meet? Sora asked. They will choose the place. It will be somewhere that gives them an advantage, but we will go anyway. We need to know what they really want. Jaewon was already thinking about military preparations. I will get our best ships ready. If this meeting goes badly, we need to be prepared for war. Do you think we can win against the Council? Minho asked. I do not know, but I know we cannot win if we surrender without fighting. Over the next few days, more information came in from human intelligence networks. The Council was moving ships toward human space. Not many ships, but they were big and powerful. The Council was making sure humans knew they were serious. Minho met with the leaders of all 47 human colonies. Most of them were angry about the Council demands. A few were scared and wanted to accept Council protection, but in the end, they all agreed to stand together. Humans did not come this far to give up now, said the governor of New Sol Colony. If the Council wants to limit us, they will have to fight for it. 3 days before the deadline, the Council sent coordinates for the meeting. It would take place at a massive space station in the Vega system. The station was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It could hold millions of people. Minho chose his team carefully. He would lead the diplomatic mission. Dr. Hans Sora would come to study the aliens and their technology. Colonel Park Hyun-woo would handle security. Engineer Kim Nari would analyze any technology they could see. Captain Lee Jaewon would command the military escort. He could not bring warships to the meeting, but he could position the fleet nearby. If the talks failed, the human fleet would need to act quickly. On the last night before departure, Minho stood in his quarters looking at pictures of his family. His wife and children lived on Earth. They were safe for now. But if this meeting went wrong, nowhere in human space would be safe. He thought about the message from the Council. The aliens talked about humans like they were dangerous animals. They did not understand that human strength came from their freedom to choose their own path. Tomorrow the Council would learn that humans were not as easy to control as they thought. The meeting would either lead to peace or war. But either way, humans would not bow down to alien masters. The future of humanity would be decided in the stars. The Council station was massive beyond anything Kang Minho had ever seen. As their shuttle approached, the structure grew larger and larger until it filled the entire view screen. The station was shaped like a giant wheel, spinning slowly in space. Each spoke was bigger than the largest human city. How many people live on that thing? Asked Engineer Kim Nari, staring at the display. The files say about 50 million beings, Dr. Hans Sora replied. Representatives from all the Council races, plus their families and support staff. Colonel Park Hyun-woo was studying tactical displays. Look at those weapon ports. This station is not just a meeting place. It is a fortress, Minho nodded. The council was making a statement. They were showing humans how powerful they were. The message was clear. Do not even think about fighting us. Their shuttle was guided to a small docking bay. As they landed, Minho could see alien workers moving around outside. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated in the air or crawled on multiple limbs. The diversity was amazing, but also intimidating. A mechanical voice spoke in broken human language. Human delegation will follow guide to meeting chamber. No weapons, no recording devices, no delays. The airlock opened and their guide appeared. It was a Velthari, one of the crystalline beings that led the council. The creature was beautiful in a strange way. Its body was made of living crystal that shifted color as it moved, but its eyes were cold and showed no emotion. I am sub-council, Velkaran. You will follow me. Do not touch anything. Do not speak to other beings. Do not wander from the path. The guide led them through corridors that stretched for kilometers. The walls were covered with alien writing and strange symbols. The ceilings were so high they disappeared into darkness above. Everything was designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Other beings moved through the corridors, but none paid attention to the humans. Minho noticed that different species stayed in separate groups. The gas-like Nethmori floated in special enclosed areas. The insect creche moved in perfect formations. There was no mixing between the races. Interesting, whispered Dr. Hansora. They work together, but they do not socialize. This is not a united government. It is more like an alliance of convenience. Kim Nari was secretly scanning the technology around them. Her hidden devices were recording energy signatures and structural details. What she saw worried her. The station used power sources that were far beyond human understanding. The materials were stronger than anything humans could make. But she also noticed something else. The technology was old, very old. The designs had not changed in a long time. Everything was built for durability, not innovation. It was like visiting a museum of ancient achievements. They reached the council chamber after walking for an hour. The room was enormous. The ceiling was a dome that showed the stars outside. In the center was a circular platform with 12 seats arranged around it. One small chair sat alone in the middle. That is for us, Colonel Park Hyunwoo said quietly. They want us to feel surrounded. Representatives from each council race were already seated. Minho had studied their files, but seeing them in person was different. The Velthari looked like living statues. The Nethmori appeared as glowing clouds contained in transparent spheres. The creche were like giant mantises with too many eyes. Council. Prime Veltaran rose from the central seat. This Velthari was larger than the others, and its crystal body pulsed with inner light. When it spoke, the words came from speakers built into the walls. Humans. You have come to answer for your crimes against Galactic Order. Minho stepped forward. We have come to discuss your concerns about human expansion. We are not aware of any crimes. Ignorance is not innocence. Your species spreads across space like a disease. You take worlds without permission. You build weapons without oversight. You grow without limits. We build homes for our people. We explore new worlds. We defend ourselves against threats. These are the rights of any free species. The Council Prime's crystal body flashed brighter. Rights? You speak of rights? Rights are earned through centuries of service to galactic peace. Your species has existed in space for barely 50 of your years. You are children playing with forces you do not understand. Dr. Han Sora whispered to Minho, Notice how they talk about service to galactic peace. But whose peace? Their peace. Other council members began to speak. Each one complained about human activities. The Kresh were angry about human colonies near their territory. The Nethmori said humans were too loud and disturbed their meditation spaces. The aquatic Merdathi claimed humans were polluting space with their primitive technology. But Minho heard something else in their complaints: fear. These ancient races were afraid of humanity's rapid growth. In 50 years, humans had accomplished what took them centuries. The council was not angry about human crimes. They were scared of human potential. "You will accept our terms," Council Prime Veltaran announced. "No more expansion beyond your current 47 systems. All human. Military forces will be reduced by 70%. All new technology must be approved by council inspectors before use. In return, we will provide protection and guidance." "Protection from what?" Minho asked. "From the consequences of your own primitive nature. Your species is violent and unpredictable. Without our guidance, you will destroy yourselves and threaten others." Colonel Park Hyunwoo stepped forward. "We have fought pirates and raiders, yes. We have defended our colonies, but we have never attacked anyone who did not attack us first. Your very existence is an attack on galactic stability," said a Nethmori representative. "Young races must be controlled until they prove they can be trusted." Kim Nari was still scanning the chamber with her hidden devices. The energy readings were incredible. The council had weapons built into the very walls of this room. They could kill the human delegation instantly if they wanted to, but she also detected something interesting: shield generators. Lots of them. The council was not just armed, they were afraid. They had built this chamber like a bunker. They expected attacks. "How long do we have to consider your offer?" Minho asked. 3 cycles. Your primitive language calls them days. After that, we will take action to protect galactic peace." "What kind of action?" Council Prime Veltaran leaned forward. "The kind that ensures your species learns to respect their betters. You will be confined to your current worlds. Your expansion will end. Your military will be dismantled. Your technology will be controlled. And if we refuse? Refusal is not an option. Every species eventually learns to accept council authority. Some learn through negotiation, others learn through more direct methods. The threat was clear: submit or be destroyed. But something in the Council Prime's words bothered Minho. "How many species have refused your authority?" "That information is not relevant to current discussions." Dr. Han Sora whispered, "Ask him. How many species have been reduced to primitive status by the Council? How many spacefaring races existed in this region before the Council was formed?" Minho asked. The chamber fell silent. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Council Prime Veltaran's crystal body dimmed slightly. "This meeting is adjourned. You have 3 cycles to accept our terms. Guards will escort you to temporary quarters. You will remain on the station until you agree to our conditions." As they were led away, Minho realized they were not guests at a negotiation. They were prisoners in a trial. The council had already decided humanity's fate. The only question was whether humans would submit peacefully or have to be forced into submission. But the council had made one mistake. They had allowed the human delegation to see their station, their technology, and their fears. Kim Nari was already analyzing the data she had collected. Colonel Park Hyunwoo was mapping the station's defenses. Dr. Han Sora was studying the behavior of the different council races. And Captain Lee Jae-won was waiting outside the system with the human fleet. ready to act when the time came. The Council thought they were dealing with primitive beings who would be awed by their power. They were about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than they appeared. The quarters the Council gave them were comfortable but clearly designed as a prison. There were no windows, only screens showing peaceful alien landscapes. The doors locked from the outside. Guard sensors watched their every movement. Dr. Han. Sora sat on her bed, staring at a small device hidden in her medical scanner. The readings she had taken during their walk through the station showed something very disturbing. She called the others over. "Look at this," she whispered, keeping her voice low in case the room was monitored. "These are biological readings from the aliens we passed in the corridors." Kang Minho looked at the display. The numbers meant nothing to him, but Sora's expression told him it was bad news. "What am I looking at?" "Genetic decay. Every Council race we encountered shows signs of serious biological problems. Low fertility rates, shortened lifespans, immune system failures. They are dying out." Colonel Park Hyunwoo leaned closer. "All of them?" "Every single species. The Velthari show crystalline fracturing in their cellular structure. The Nethmori have energy dissipation problems. The Kresh have hive mind breakdown at the genetic level. These races are not just old, they are failing." Engineer Kim Nari was working on her own analysis. She had been studying the station's power systems and technology. Her findings were equally troubling. "The technology here is thousands of years old," she said. "But it has not improved in all that time. They are maintaining ancient systems, not developing new ones. This entire station runs on technology they built long ago, but can no longer advance." "Why?" Minho asked. "Because innovation requires genetic diversity and population growth," Sora explained. "When a species stops reproducing effectively, they lose the drive to create new things. They focus on preserving what they have instead of building something better." Park Hyunwoo was putting the pieces together. "So they are not just controlling other species for power, they need us." "Exactly. Young races have genetic vigor, population, growth, and innovative thinking. The Council has been harvesting these qualities from conquered species for thousands of years." Kim Nari pulled up hidden files she had accessed while walking through the station. "I managed to tap into some of their databases. Look at this. Records of 17 different species that have been integrated into Council space over the past 3,000 years. The records showed a pattern. Each species had been contacted when they reached a certain level of technology and expansion. Each had been offered Council protection and guidance. Those who accepted were eventually absorbed into the Council system, their people becoming workers and scientists serving the older races. Those who refused were destroyed." "This explains everything," Minho said. "They do not see us as a threat to galactic peace. They see us as resources to be harvested. But we are different from the other species they conquered," Sora pointed out. "We expanded faster than any of them. We adapted their technology and improved it within decades instead of centuries. That is why they are scared." Kim Nari had found something else in the databases. "Look at this. Population statistics for human colonies over the past 50 years. They have been watching us very carefully. Our birth rates, our technological development, our expansion patterns. They know exactly how dangerous we could become." The door chimed, and Sub-Council Velkaran entered. The crystalline being looked at the humans with those cold, emotionless eyes. "Council Prime Veltaran will see you now. You will present your decision." "We still have 2 days," Minho said. Time is a luxury for species with futures. Your time is limited. They were escorted back to the council chamber. This time, only Council Prime Veltarin was present. The other representatives had gone back to their duties. The chamber felt even more threatening with just one alien sitting in judgment. "Have you reached a decision?" the Council Prime asked. "We have questions first," Minho replied. "What happened to the Zorthaki?" The crystal being's light dimmed slightly. The Zorthaki had been the 16th species integrated into the Council, according to the records Kimnari had found. The Zorthaki chose cooperation over destruction. They were given honored positions within our society. As slaves, Park Hyunwoo said bluntly, as protected beings who contribute to galactic stability. Their aggressive tendencies were moderated. Their expansion was controlled. Their technology was guided toward peaceful purposes. "Where are they now?" Sora asked. "They serve the Council in many capacities. Science, engineering, labor. They are content." Kimnari had found Zorthaki population records. 3,000 years ago, they had numbered in the billions across dozens of worlds. Now they numbered in the millions, working in council facilities. Their reproductive rights controlled, their culture nearly extinct. "What about the species that refused your offer?" Minho asked. "There have been no such species. All civilized. Beings eventually recognize the wisdom of council guidance." But the records told a different story. At least 5 species had refused integration. Their worlds had been sterilized from orbit, their populations eliminated, their technology and resources claimed by the Council. "You are offering us the choice between slavery and death," Minho said. "I am offering you the choice between cooperation and the consequences of defiance. Your species is young and strong. You have qualities that could benefit galactic civilization for thousands of years, but only under proper guidance." Sora stepped forward. "You need us because your own species are dying. You have drained the life from 17 civilizations to keep yourselves alive, and now you want to do the same to humanity." The Council Prime's crystal body flashed brighter with anger. "You understand nothing of the responsibilities of advanced civilizations. The Council maintains order across thousands of worlds. We prevent wars, guide development, ensure stability. Young races are chaos. They must be controlled. Controlled until they are no longer young," Park Hyunwoo said. "Until they are no longer innovative. Until they are no longer free. Freedom is an illusion that young species cling to. True wisdom comes from accepting one's place in the greater order." Kimnari had been quietly working on her hidden scanner. She looked up with alarm. Energy buildup in the station's defense systems. They are preparing weapons. The Council Prime noticed her device. "Clever little beings. Yes, this station has the power to destroy your entire fleet. Captain Lee Jae-won's ships are completely outmatched." "How do you know about Captain Lee?" Minho asked. "We know everything about your military forces. Your weapons, your tactics, your positions. Did you think we would meet with you without complete intelligence? Your fleet exists only because we allow it to exist." But something in the alien's tone suggested this was not entirely true. If the Council was so confident, why did they need weapons pointed at the human delegation? Why did they need to threaten instead of simply acting? "You are afraid of us," Sora said suddenly. "That is why you contacted us now instead of waiting until we grew stronger. You are afraid that if you wait much longer, we might become too powerful to control. Your species has potential, yes, but potential must be guided by wisdom. Your wisdom has led to the extinction of your own reproductive capabilities, Park Hyun-woo pointed out. Your great civilization is dying from the inside. You are parasites, feeding on younger species to survive. The Council Prime rose from its seat. The crystal body was now blazing with light and barely contained rage. Enough! You will accept our terms immediately, or your fleet will be destroyed and your worlds will be occupied by force. Choose now. Minho looked at his team. They all nodded slightly. They had learned what they needed to know. The Council was powerful but desperate, ancient but stagnant, strong but dying, and most importantly, they were afraid. We need to discuss. This as a team, Minho said. Give us 1 hour. You have 30 minutes. Then you will give your answer, or the answer will be given for you. As they were escorted back to their quarters, Kim Nari whispered, I found something else in their systems. Defense protocols. This station has weaknesses. The final pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. The Council was not as invulnerable as they appeared. And humans were not as helpless as the aliens believed. The real negotiations were about to begin. Kang Minho sat across from Council Prime Veltaran with a calm expression that hid his racing thoughts. The 30 minutes had passed quickly. Now came the most dangerous part of their plan. We are prepared to discuss terms, Minho said carefully, but we need some modifications to your proposal. The crystal being's light pulsed with what might have been surprise. Modifications? You are in no position to negotiate. Every successful agreement requires compromise. We understand your concerns about human expansion. We are willing to work within reasonable limits. Dr. Han Sora had coached him on this approach. Make the Council think they were winning. Get them to reveal more of their plans. Buy time for Captain Lee Jae-won to position the fleet. What limits do you propose? The Council Prime asked. We accept restrictions on military expansion. No more than current force levels. We accept inspections of new technology. We accept Council observers on human worlds. These were significant concessions, but they were also meaningless. The plan they had developed in their quarters would make Council oversight impossible. And in return, limited expansion rights. 5 new systems per decade, gradual technology sharing, cultural exchange programs. The Council Prime considered this. The crystal body dimmed as the alien thought. Finally, it spoke. Your proposal has merit, but enforcement will require permanent Council presence in human space, a fleet of supervisory vessels, administrative stations, security forces. Minho nodded, as if this was reasonable. How many ships are we talking about? Sufficient numbers to ensure compliance, perhaps 1,000 vessels initially. Colonel Park Hyun-woo managed not to react visibly. 1,000 Council ships in human space would be enough to control every major colony and trade route. It would be occupation in all but name. That seems like a lot for peaceful oversight, Minho said. Young races require significant guidance. The number will be reduced as your species demonstrates maturity. Engineer Kim Nari was secretly recording everything. The Council was revealing their standard occupation protocol, information that could be vital for the liberation of other species. When would this supervision begin? Minho asked. Immediately. Council fleets are already moving toward human space. They will arrive within 10 cycles to begin the integration process. This was news. The Council was not waiting for human agreement. They were already implementing occupation, regardless of the outcome of these talks. Integration process? Dr. Han Sora asked. Population management? Resource allocation? Technology control? educational reform. The standard procedures for bringing a primitive species into civilized society. The words were spoken casually, as if describing a routine administrative task. But the humans understood what they really meant: the systematic destruction of human independence. "What about our existing government structures?" Minho asked. "They will be replaced by more efficient systems. Council-approved administrators will oversee all major decisions. Local officials may remain in advisory roles if they demonstrate cooperation. And our military forces? Disbanded, except for small security units under council supervision. Your species' aggressive tendencies must be redirected toward productive purposes." Park Hyun-woo kept his expression neutral, but inside he was furious. The council was describing the complete subjugation of humanity with the calm tone of a bureaucrat, discussing office procedures. "This sounds more like conquest than cooperation," Minho said. "Conquest implies resistance and violence. Integration is peaceful and beneficial. Your species will retain cultural autonomy in matters that do not affect galactic stability. What matters would those be? Art, music, recreational activities, food preferences, personal relationships within approved parameters. Everything else, government, military, technology, reproduction, education, economic development, would be controlled by the council. Humans would become a managed species, kept alive to serve their alien masters. We need guarantees," Minho said, "written agreements, legal protections. Council law supersedes all local agreements. But we are not unreasonable. Compliant populations receive better treatment than resistant ones. The threat was clear: submit completely or face harsh punishment." "Could we see examples of these agreements with other species?" Sora asked. "That information is classified, but I can assure you that all integrated species are content with their status." Kim Nari had found records suggesting otherwise. The integrated species showed high suicide rates, declining birth rates, and frequent uprising attempts. Contentment was enforced through surveillance and psychological conditioning. "We would like to speak with representatives from other integrated species," Minho said. "That will not be necessary. Their experiences would not be relevant to your unique situation." "How? Are we unique?" The Council Prime hesitated. This was clearly sensitive information. "Your species has certain qualities that make you valuable for specialized roles within Council society." "What kind of roles?" "Scientific research, military operations, engineering projects. Your genetic vigor and innovative thinking could benefit the Council for thousands of years." The truth was finally coming out. Humans were not being offered partnership or even slavery. They were being recruited as breeding stock and intellectual resources for the dying council races. "And our population growth?" Sora asked. "Will be carefully managed to ensure optimal genetic diversity while preventing overpopulation. Reproductive control. The final piece of the Council's integration plan." "This is a generous offer," Minho said, pretending to consider it seriously. "But my government will need time to prepare our people for such significant changes." "How much time?" 6 months. Maybe a year. These are major social and economic adjustments. Unacceptable. Integration begins immediately. Delay only leads to increased resistance and greater casualties. Casualties. Some individuals always resist change. They must be removed for the good of the majority. The Council was prepared to murder anyone who opposed their occupation. The integration process would begin with mass executions of human leaders, military officers, and anyone else likely to organize resistance. I understand your urgency, Minho said. But surely a few weeks would not matter. Long-term success requires proper preparation. You seem to misunderstand your situation, the Council Prime said. Its crystal body was growing brighter with impatience. This is not a negotiation between equals. This is a directive from your superiors. You will comply immediately, or compliance will be enforced. And if we refuse entirely? Refusal is not an option. But hypothetically, the alien leaned forward. Hypothetically, resistant populations are removed, and their worlds are resettled by more cooperative species. This has never been necessary because all intelligent species eventually recognize the benefits of council guidance. But Kim Nari's research had found records of those removed populations, entire civilizations wiped out by orbital bombardment, their worlds stripped of resources and given to council loyalists. I think we understand each other, Minho said. We need one final consultation with our government before we can give you a formal response. You may send one message to your authorities. Council monitors will review it before transmission to ensure it contains no inappropriate content. Of course, we would not want to cause any misunderstandings. Minho composed a message that seemed to accept the council terms while actually containing coded warnings for the human government and military. The message was reviewed by Velthari censors, who found nothing suspicious in its diplomatic language. But Captain Lee Jae-won would understand the real meaning. The fleet needed to be ready for immediate action. While they waited for a response, the human delegation was given a tour of the station's integration facilities. They saw housing units for guest species that looked like comfortable prisons. They saw educational centers where alien children learned council-approved history and values. They saw research laboratories where conquered species worked on projects they would never understand. Most disturbing of all, they saw the reproductive management facilities, clinical, sterile environments where population growth was controlled through artificial breeding programs. This is what they have planned for us, Sora whispered as they walked past rooms full of monitoring equipment. Not if we have anything to say about it, Park Hyunwoo replied. That evening, Council Prime Veltarin called them back to the chamber. Have you received a response from your government? We have, Minho said, but it is not what you want to. Here. The crystal being's light flared. Explain. The human government has voted to reject council integration. We choose independence, even if it means war. For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then the Council Prime began to laugh. The sound was like crystal wind chimes in a hurricane. War? You primitive beings think you can fight the Council? Your entire fleet could not damage this station. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. Perhaps. But humans prefer to die free, rather than live as slaves. Death can be arranged, the alien said coldly. It was time for the final phase of their plan. Kang Minho stood up slowly, his movements calm and deliberate. Dr. Han Sora, Colonel Park Hyunwoo, and Engineer Kim Nari followed his lead. The human delegation faced Council Prime Veltarin as equals, not as supplicants begging for mercy. On behalf of humanity, Minho said in a clear, strong voice, I formally reject your terms. We reject your oversight. We reject your protection. We reject your integration. And we reject your threats. The Council Prime's crystal body blazed with fury. You are making a grave mistake. Your species will be extinct within a cycle. Maybe. But we will die as humans, not as your property. Minho turned toward the chamber exit. The others followed him. It was the most dangerous moment of their mission. Walking away from the most powerful beings in the galaxy took courage that few species had ever shown. "Stop," the Council Prime commanded. "You will not leave this station. You will watch as your fleet is destroyed and your worlds are conquered." Minho paused at the chamber door but did not turn around. "Council Prime Veltaran, you have made the same mistake that powerful bullies always make. You assumed that because you are strong, others must be weak. You assumed that because you are old, others must be foolish. You assumed that because you have always won, you always will win. Your assumptions are about to cost you everything." Now Minho did turn around. His expression was no longer diplomatic. It was the face of a predator who had been disguised as prey. "You see, we knew this meeting was a trap from the beginning. We knew you had already decided to invade human space regardless of our answer. We knew you saw us as resources to be harvested, not people to be negotiated with." Park Hyunwoo stepped forward. "We also know about your cleansing fleet. The 1,000 ships you sent to human space 3 days ago." The Council Prime's light flickered. With surprise. How could the humans know about fleet movements in deep space? "We know about your orbital bombardment platforms," Kim Nari added. "The ones you positioned around our major colonies." "We know about your integration facilities," Sora said. "The prison ships disguised as transport vessels." "What you do not know," Minho continued, "is what humans do to bullies who threaten our families." The Council Prime activated communication systems built into the chamber. "Fleet Command, report status of cleansing operations." Static filled the chamber. Then, a weak voice replied, "Command, this is Destroyer Velmaran. We are under attack. Unknown vessels. Our shields are failing." The transmission cut to static. "What did you do?" the Council Prime demanded. "We did what humans always do when someone threatens our children," Park Hyunwoo said. "We fought back." More transmissions came through the communication system. "Reports of Council ships under attack throughout human space. Orbital platforms destroyed. Transport vessels disabled. The cleansing fleet was being systematically eliminated. Impossible. Your primitive vessels cannot match Council technology." Kim. Nari smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. "You are right. Our primitive vessels could not match your technology. So we borrowed some of yours." Borrowed. Did you really think we would visit 12 Council worlds over the past 5 years and not take some souvenirs? Every trade mission, every diplomatic contact, every cultural exchange was an opportunity to study your technology. But studying is not the same as understanding. Your species lacks the knowledge to use advanced systems. "You are wrong again," Sora said. "Humans are very good at reverse engineering. We take things apart, figure out how they work, and then build them better." The communication system activated again. This time, the voice was human. "Ambassador Minho, this is Captain Lee Jae-won. The cleansing fleet has been neutralized. All Council. Platforms around human worlds have been destroyed. We are ready to proceed to Phase 2. "Phase 2? The Council Prime asked. "The liberation of integrated species," Minho replied. "We found your records, Veltaran. We know what you did to the Zorthaki, the Brentar, the Yulketh, and all the others. 17 civilizations enslaved. Billions of beings turned into breeding stock and forced labor. This ends today." The station's alert systems began wailing. Emergency lights flashed throughout the chamber. The Council Prime was receiving reports from across the galaxy. Human fleets were appearing at integrated worlds. Council occupation forces were under attack. Slave populations were being liberated. "How many ships do you have?" the alien demanded. "More than you," Park Hyun-woo said simply. For 50 years, humans had been building ships in secret. Every colony had shipyards hidden in asteroid belts and gas giant atmospheres. While the Council watched human expansion, they had missed human preparation for war. "Your fleets are scattered across thousands of worlds," the Council Prime said. "This station alone has the firepower to destroy your entire civilization." "Does it?" Kim Nari asked. "Because according to my scans, this station has several critical weaknesses. Would you like me to list them?" "You scanned nothing. Our security systems would have detected any surveillance." Kim Nari pulled out her medical scanner. "This device has been recording everything since we arrived. Energy signatures, structural weak points, weapon charging cycles, shield frequencies. Did you really think humans would visit your fortress without studying it? Even if you know our weaknesses, you have no way to exploit them. Your ships cannot penetrate our defenses." "Our ships cannot," Minho agreed. "But we are not in our ships. We are inside your defenses." Park Hyun-woo opened his diplomatic case and pulled out what looked like a small communication device. The Council Prime recognized it immediately. It was a human military transmitter, modified with Council technology. "That is impossible. You were searched. No weapons were allowed." "This is not a weapon," Park Hyun-woo said. "It is a beacon, and it has been broadcasting your shield frequencies to our fleet since the moment we arrived." The chamber's main display activated, showing space around the station. Human warships were decloaking at close range. Dozens of them, all armed with weapons that should not have existed. "You modified our technology," the Council Prime said with something that might have been admiration. "We improved it," Kim Nari corrected. "Human engineers are very creative when their families are threatened. This station still has enough firepower to destroy your fleet." "Probably," Minho agreed. "But we are not here to destroy your station. We are here to free the 50 million beings you hold prisoner aboard it." The human fleet was not targeting the station's weapons. They were targeting its docking bays and hangar decks, evacuation routes for the alien civilians and enslaved populations trapped inside the massive structure. "You would sacrifice yourselves for strangers?" the Council Prime asked. "We would sacrifice ourselves for freedom," Sora replied. "Ours and theirs." The station shuddered as human boarding pods attached to its hull. Elite soldiers in powered armor were cutting through blast doors and fighting their way toward the integration facilities. "Your soldiers cannot reach the critical systems. This station has 30,000 security troops." "Our soldiers are not here to capture systems," Park Hyun-woo said. "They are here to free slaves, and they are not fighting alone." Throughout the station, integrated species were rising in rebellion. Zorthaki workers were sabotaging power systems. Brentar scientists were releasing bioweapons from sealed labs. Yulketh engineers were opening airlocks and blast doors. 50 years of oppression was ending in a single day. "Why?" the Council Prime asked. "Why risk everything for beings you do not even know?" "Because," Minho said, "that is what humans do. We do not accept that might makes right. We do not accept that the strong should prey on the weak. We do not accept that anyone has the right to enslave others. And most importantly, we do not accept that this is how the galaxy has to be." The human delegation walked toward the chamber. Exit. Behind them, the Council Prime sat alone in a room designed to intimidate supplicants, watching its empire crumble on a dozen screens. "This is not over," the alien called after them. Minho paused at the door one last time. "You are right. This is just the beginning." As the human delegation reached the corridor outside the council chamber, alarms screamed throughout the massive station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. The voice of station control echoed from speakers built into the walls. All security. Forces to combat stations. Hostile boarding actions in progress. All civilian personnel to emergency shelters. Kang Minho and his team moved quickly through corridors that were now chaos. Alien beings ran in all directions, some fleeing to safety, others rushing to defend their stations. The careful order of the council station was breaking down. "Humans!" a voice called out. Sub-Council Velkaran, their original guide, approached with a squad of armed guards. "You will return to your quarters immediately." "I do not think so," Colonel Park Hyunwoo replied. The guards raised their weapons, energy rifles that could burn through human armor in seconds, but Hyunwoo was not concerned. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a device that looked like a simple communication pad. The device activated with a soft hum. The guards' weapons suddenly went dead in their hands. The energy rifles powered down and would not restart. "How?" Velkaran demanded. "Electromagnetic pulse," Dr. Hansora explained, "specifically tuned to disrupt Velthari crystal-based electronics. We have been studying your technology for years." Engineer Kim Nari pulled out her own device, something that looked like a medical scanner, but was clearly much more. "We also have these." The device projected a shimmering barrier of energy around the human team. When one of the guards tried to grab Colonel Hyunwoo, his hand bounced off the shield as if he had struck solid metal. "Personal defense screens," Kim Nari said. "Based on your own shield technology, but miniaturized and improved." The guards backed, away, confused and frightened. Their weapons were useless. Their hands could not touch the humans. These primitive beings had technology that should not exist. "You stole Council secrets," Velkaran accused. "We studied Council achievements," Minho corrected. "And we made them better." More guards arrived, but these carried older weapons, projectile rifles that did not depend on crystal electronics. They opened fire immediately. The bullets struck the human shields and bounced off harmlessly. But Park Hyunwoo did not just stand there. He drew his own weapon. It looked like a human plasma rifle, but larger and more advanced. When he fired it, the energy beam cut through the corridor wall like paper. The guards dove for cover. "Impossible," Velkaran said. "Humans do not have plasma technology." "We do now," Park Hyunwoo said, advancing on the guard's position. The other humans drew their own weapons. Sora carried what looked like a medical tool, but fired focused sonic pulses that could stun or kill. Kim Nari had a device that projected hard light constructs, temporary solid objects made of pure energy. But it was Minho's weapon that truly shocked the aliens. It was a rifle that fired miniature black holes, gravitational distortions that could tear through any armor or shield. "Did you get gravitational technology?" Velkaran demanded. "From you," Minho replied. "Your gravity generators have been very educational." The human team moved through the station like a military unit, but they were not just soldiers. They were engineers and scientists who had spent years preparing for this moment. Every piece of Council technology they had encountered during trade missions and diplomatic visits had been studied, analyzed, and improved. Human creativity combined with alien science had produced weapons and tools that surpassed anything the Council had. As they fought their way toward the docking bays, they encountered different types of alien guards. The insect-like Kresh came at them in swarms, but Kimnari's sonic weapons disrupted their hive-mind coordination. The gas-like Nethmori tried to surround them, but Sora's electromagnetic fields contained their energy forms. Each alien race had different strengths, but the humans had prepared countermeasures for all of them. "How long have you been planning this?" Velkaran asked as his guards fell back again and again. "Since the day we met you," Park Hyunwoo said. "Did you really think humans would trust aliens who treated us like insects?" They reached a major intersection where several corridors met. Here they encountered their first serious resistance. A full security platoon armed with heavy weapons and protected by combat shields. The battle was brief but intense. Human weapons cut through alien defenses while alien firepower failed to penetrate human shields. In minutes, the security platoon was defeated. "Your technology is more advanced than ours," Velkaran admitted as he surrendered. "But you are still outnumbered. This station has millions of defenders." "Does it?" Minho asked. The main display screens throughout the station were showing scenes from across the galaxy. On world after world, integrated species were rising in the rebellion. The Zorthaki were using captured council weapons to destroy orbital platforms. The Brentar were turning their bioweapons against their former masters. The Yulketh were broadcasting messages of freedom to enslaved populations everywhere. 50 years of oppression, Sora said. 50 years of waiting for someone to show them that the Council could be defeated. We just had to prove it was possible. "You have doomed the galaxy to chaos," Velkaran said. "The Council maintains order. Without us, there will be war between species, conflict over resources, technological disasters." "Maybe," Minho agreed. "But there will also be freedom, and free beings can solve their own problems." They reached the docking bay where their shuttle waited. But the bay was occupied by Council troops, not guards, but actual soldiers in powered armor carrying military-grade weapons. "These will not be as easy to defeat," Park Hyunwoo warned. The soldiers opened fire immediately. Their weapons were much more powerful than the guards' rifles. Energy beams that could melt through starship armor struck the human shields. For a moment, it looked like the humans might be overwhelmed. Then Kimnari activated a new device. The air around the human team shimmered. Suddenly, there were multiple copies of each human, dozens of them, all armed, all moving in different directions. "Holographic projections," Kimnari explained. "The soldiers cannot tell which targets are real. The Council soldiers fired at phantom enemies while the real humans moved through the chaos." Park Hyunwoo's gravitational rifle tore through powered armor. Sora's sonic weapons disrupted the soldiers' communication systems. Kimnari's hard light constructs created barriers and weapons as needed. In minutes, the elite soldiers were defeated. "Impressive," said a new voice. Council Prime Veltaran entered the docking bay with a personal guard of crystalline warriors. "You have exceeded all expectations." "Not really," Minho said. "We told you from the beginning that humans would not accept slavery." "Yes, but I expected you to die bravely, not to actually win." The Council Prime drew its own weapon, a rifle that channeled pure crystal energy. When it fired, the beam was powerful enough to crack the docking bay walls, but the human shields held. And now the humans could see fear in the alien leader's crystalline features. "Your weapons are impressive," the Council Prime said. "But you cannot escape this station. Our fleet will destroy your ships." "What fleet?" Kim Nari asked. The main display showed space around the station. Where once there had been hundreds of Council warships, now there were only floating debris fields. Captain Lee Jae-won's fleet had not just disabled the Council vessels, they had destroyed them completely. "How?" the Council Prime demanded. "Humans learn from their enemies," Park Hyun-woo said. "Every time you attacked our colonies, we studied your tactics. Every time you destroyed our ships, we learned from their weaknesses. And every time you underestimated us," Minho added, "we grew stronger." The human shuttle was lifting off. Across the galaxy, liberation fleets were completing their missions. Enslaved species were free. Council strongholds were falling. The age of alien domination was ending. "This is not victory," the Council Prime said. "This is the beginning of galactic war." "Maybe," Minho replied, as the shuttle cleared the docking bay. "But it is also the beginning of galactic freedom." The weapons of war had been drawn. But the real battle, the fight for the future of all sentient life, was just beginning. Council Prime Veltaran stood in the command center of the massive station, watching displays that showed the collapse of everything the Council had built over 3,000 years. Red warning lights flashed across dozens of screens as reports came in from across the galaxy. "Fleet Command reports total loss of the cleansing armada," announced a Velthari communications officer. "All 700 ships destroyed or disabled. Orbital Defense Command reports loss of bombardment platforms around 42 human worlds," said another officer. "Integration Command reports slave uprisings on 137 Council worlds." The reports kept coming, each one worse than the last. The Council's military might was being systematically destroyed by forces that should not have existed. "How many ships do the humans have?" Veltaran demanded. "Unknown, Council Prime. Our intelligence estimates were clearly wrong. They appear to have built a fleet larger than our own." "Impossible. We have monitored human shipbuilding for 50 years. They built them in hidden locations, asteroid belts, gas giant atmospheres, mobile construction platforms that moved constantly to avoid detection. While the Council had been watching human colonies, the humans had been preparing for war, not just building ships, but training crews, developing tactics, and planning coordinated strikes across thousands of light years. "Sir," called out a Kresh intelligence officer, "we are receiving reports of human strike teams on the station itself. They are moving through the integration levels." "Strike teams? How did they get aboard?" "Unknown. They appear to have infiltrated during the diplomatic mission." Veltaran realized the truth. The human delegation had not come to negotiate. They had come to gather intelligence and plant saboteurs. Every moment they had spent on the station, they had been preparing for this. "Attack! Security status report!" Veltaran ordered. "Station defenses are operating at 60% efficiency. Multiple systems have been sabotaged. Emergency bulkheads are malfunctioning. Communications are disrupted." Engineer Kim Nari had done more than just scan the station's technology. She had planted devices throughout its systems. Viruses in the computer networks, explosive charges on critical components, electromagnetic pulse generators that could disable entire sections. "How many security troops do we have available?" "Approximately 15,000, but they are scattered throughout the station responding to multiple breaches. Consolidate them, form a defensive perimeter around the command center." But even as Veltaran gave orders, more bad news arrived. The human strike teams were not just random soldiers. They were specialists who knew exactly what they were attacking. "Integration Level 7 reports total system failure. announced a Nethmori officer. All containment fields are down. The slave populations are escaping. Integration level 12. Reports hostile forces in the genetic laboratories. They are destroying all research data. Integration level 20 reports that the breeding programs have been terminated. All subjects have been released. The humans were not just fighting to escape. They were systematically destroying the Council's entire slave system. 50 million enslaved beings were being freed in a single coordinated operation. Send all available troops to the integration levels, Veltaran ordered. Stop them before they reach the primary computer cores. Sir, we cannot. The humans are jamming our communications. Security teams cannot coordinate their movements. This was the work of Sergeant Bei Doyun and his enhanced soldiers. They moved through the station like ghosts, striking at critical points and disappearing before the Council could respond. These were not ordinary human soldiers. They had been genetically enhanced, cybernetically augmented, and trained for operations in alien environments. Each one was worth a dozen normal troops. How many of these enhanced soldiers do they have? Unknown. Our sensors cannot distinguish them from station personnel. They appear to be using holographic disguises. What about the freed slaves? Are they fighting alongside the humans? Yes, Council Prime. The Zorthaki have organized resistance cells throughout the station. The Brentar are using their knowledge of station systems to guide human forces. The Yulketh are sabotaging critical infrastructure. For thousands of years, the Council had kept enslaved species separate from each other. They had prevented communication between different groups. They had used divide-and-conquer tactics to maintain control. But the humans had changed that. They had contacted representatives from all the enslaved species before the attack. They had shared technology and tactical information. They had turned the Council's greatest weakness, their reliance on slave labor, into humanity's greatest advantage. Council Prime, said a terrified Velthari technician. The humans have reached the primary computer core on level 50. Impossible. That level requires clearance from 3 different Council members. They have clearance, sir. They are using captured authorization codes. Kim Nari's infiltration had been more thorough than anyone realized. She had not just planted sabotage, devices. She had copied security codes, mapped classified systems, and identified every critical vulnerability in the massive station. What are they doing in the computer core? They appear to be downloading everything. All Council records, all integration protocols, all military intelligence. The humans were not just destroying the Council's current operations. They were stealing all the information needed to free every enslaved species in the galaxy. Cut all. Power to that section. We cannot, sir. They have locked us out of the power control systems. Then send troops to physically destroy the computer core. Sir, we have tried. The humans have established defensive positions throughout that section. Our forces cannot break through. Veltaran felt something the Council had not experienced in millennia. Desperation. The humans had outmaneuvered them completely. Every system, every protocol, every advantage the Council possessed had been turned against them. Status of the orbital defense platforms? All destroyed, Council Prime. The human fleet has complete control of the space around the station. What about our emergency fleets? The reinforcements from the core worlds? They are not responding to communications. We believe they are under attack as well. The scope of the human operation was becoming clear. This was not just an attack on one Council station. It was a coordinated assault on the entire Council infrastructure across hundreds of worlds. How long have they been planning this? Veltaran asked. based on the coordination required, probably since their first contact with Council forces. Every diplomatic mission, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange was preparation for this moment. For 50 years, the Council had thought they were dealing with a primitive species that could be easily controlled. In reality, they had been dealing with a civilization that was studying them, learning from them, and preparing to destroy them. "Sir," called out another officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." From Captain Lee Jae-won. "No, sir. From someone called Admiral Park Min-seok. He claims to be the commander of the Human Liberation Fleet." "Liberation Fleet?" "Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting massive human formations throughout Council space. We estimate over 10,000 ships, all armed with advanced weapons." The Council had believed humans possessed maybe a few hundred military vessels. The reality was a fleet larger than anything in galactic history. What does this admiral want? He is demanding the immediate surrender of all Council forces and the release of all enslaved populations. And if we refuse, he says the station will be destroyed with all Council personnel aboard. Veltarin looked around the command center. Alien officers from 12 different species, all looking at him for guidance. These beings had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. Now they were being hunted by a species they had dismissed as primitive animals. "Open communications with the human fleet," Veltarin said. "Sir? Open communications. It is time to learn what these humans really want." The main display activated, showing the bridge of a human warship. Admiral Park Min-seok sat in the command chair, surrounded by officers from multiple species, not just humans, but Zorthaki, Brentar, Yulketh, and others. "Council Prime Veltarin," the human said. "I believe you wanted to negotiate." For the first time in 3 millennia, a council leader was about to negotiate from a position of weakness. The hunters had become the hunted. 3 months after the liberation of the council station, Kang Min-ho stood at the podium where Council Prime Veltarin had once delivered ultimatums to conquered species. The massive chamber had been redesigned, instead of 12 seats arranged. Around one small chair, there were now hundreds of seats in concentric circles. Representatives from dozens of species sat together as equals. The Galactic Assembly had replaced the Galactic Council. "Today marks the 90th day of galactic freedom," Minho announced to the gathered delegates. 90 days since the last enslaved being was released from Council control. 90 days since the beginning of a new age. In the audience, he could see faces from species that had been slaves for thousands of years. Zorthaki engineers sat next to human scientists. Brentar doctors worked with Velthari researchers. Even some council species had joined the assembly, choosing cooperation over continued conflict. "The transition has not been easy," Minho continued. "Freedom is more difficult than slavery. Making choices is harder than following orders. Building something new is more challenging than maintaining something old." There had been problems. Some freed species had immediately attacked their former masters. Others had collapsed into civil war without council structure to maintain order. A few had tried to become conquerors themselves, but humanity had been prepared for these challenges. Liberation fleets had become peacekeeping forces. Human diplomats had mediated disputes between species that had been enemies for millennia. Human engineers had helped rebuild worlds devastated by the fighting. "But we have also seen remarkable achievements," Minho said. "Scientific breakthroughs that would have taken the Council centuries to approve. Cultural exchanges that were forbidden for thousands of years. Technological innovations that emerge when free minds work together. Dr. Han Sora had been right about the genetic decay affecting Council species, but working together, human and alien scientists had found solutions. New medical treatments were extending Velthari lifespans. Genetic therapy was restoring Nethmori energy stability. Biotechnology was healing Kresh hive mind disorders. The Council believed that order required oppression, Minho continued. They thought that peace could only exist through dominance. They were wrong. True order comes from cooperation. Lasting peace comes from justice. Captain Lee Jae-won now commanded the Galactic Defense Force, a volunteer organization made up of ships and crews from dozens of species. Their mission was not conquest, but protection. They defended trade routes, responded to emergencies, and prevented any single species from becoming too powerful. We have established new principles for galactic civilization, Minho announced. No species may enslave another. No government may expand through conquest. No technology may be used to oppress sentient beings. These are not human laws imposed on others. These are agreements made by free beings choosing to live in peace. Engineer Kim Nari had led the effort to share Council technology with all liberated species. Instead of hoarding advanced knowledge, the Assembly made it freely available, faster than light. Travel, energy weapons, shield technology, medical advances, all were shared equally among member species. The result was an explosion of innovation. Species that had been kept primitive for millennia were suddenly building starships. Civilizations that had been isolated were establishing trade relationships. Technologies that had stagnated under Council control were rapidly advancing. Some of you have asked why humans chose to fight the Council, Minho said. Why we risked extinction rather than accept their protection. The answer is simple. Because we believe that freedom is worth any risk. But we also fought because we knew that our freedom was connected to everyone else's freedom. As long as any sentient being was enslaved, none of us were truly free. In the 3 months since liberation, 17 new species had achieved spaceflight. 23 formerly enslaved civilizations had established independent governments. 47 different worlds had joined the Galactic Assembly. The galaxy was becoming more diverse, more dynamic, and more dangerous than it had been under Council control. But it was also becoming more alive. The Council spoke of galactic stability. Minho continued, but their stability was the stability of death. Nothing changed, nothing grew, nothing improved. They had achieved perfect order by destroying the chaos that drives innovation. We choose a different path. We choose the chaos of freedom over the order of oppression. We choose the uncertainty of growth over the safety of stagnation. Colonel Park Hyun-woo had established the Assembly's security protocols. Unlike the Council's surveillance state, the new system was based on transparency and accountability. Species monitored each other for signs of aggression, but the information was shared openly rather than hoarded by secret police. Of course, there are still those who oppose the new order, Minho acknowledged. Remnants of the Council military have established bases in the Outer Rim. Some species refuse to join the Assembly and continue to practice slavery. A few worlds have declared themselves successors to Council authority. We will deal with these challenges as we have dealt with all others, together as equals, through cooperation rather than conquest. The human liberation fleets had not been disbanded after the Council's defeat. Instead, they had been reorganized as rapid response forces. When the Keth Mori had tried to enslave the newly independent Pralsan, human ships had arrived within days to prevent it. When the Outer Rim Coalition had attempted to recreate the Council's integration protocols, human forces had destroyed their facilities and freed their victims. Some ask whether humans seek to replace the Council as galactic rulers, Minho said. The answer is no. We have no desire to rule others. Ruling requires the willingness to oppress, and oppression corrupts both the oppressor and the oppressed. Instead, we offer partnership. We offer our technology, our knowledge, our protection, but only to those who choose to accept it freely. Dr. Han Sora had established the Galactic Medical Consortium, which provided healthcare to any species that requested it. Human medical technology, combined with alien biological knowledge, had eliminated diseases that had plagued entire civilizations. But the consortium operated on voluntary principles. Species could join or leave at any time. No one was forced to accept human medical assistance. No one was required to share their biological secrets. The future we are building will not be perfect, Minho admitted. There will still be conflicts between species. There will still be individuals who choose evil over good. There will still be challenges that test our resolve. But these challenges will be faced by free beings making their own choices, not by slaves following their master's orders. Kim Nari had helped establish the Technological Development Cooperative, which coordinated research across species boundaries. The greatest scientific minds in the galaxy now worked together on projects that benefited everyone. Fusion power that could provide unlimited energy. Medical technology that could extend lifespans indefinitely. Terraforming techniques that could turn dead worlds into gardens. Faster than light communication that could connect the most distant civilizations. Under the Council, these technologies would have been reserved for the ruling elite. Under the Assembly, they were shared with anyone who could use them responsibly. 2. The representatives of species that have not yet joined the Assembly, Minho said, we extend an open invitation. Come and see what we are building. Judge for yourselves whether cooperation serves your people better than isolation. To the remnants of the Council who still dream of restoration, we offer a final choice. Join us as equals, or continue to fight a war you cannot win. And to the species that are still enslaved by local tyrants and petty dictators, we say this: your liberation is coming. We will not rest until every sentient being in the galaxy is free. The chamber erupted in applause. Representatives from dozens of species stood and cheered. The sound echoed through corridors that had once carried only the whispered fears of the oppressed. As the assembly session ended, Minho walked to the observation deck where he could see the space around the former council station. Where once there had been warships enforcing alien rule, now there were trade vessels from 100 different worlds. Dr. Han Sora joined him at the window. Do you think it will last? She asked. This new order we have built? Nothing lasts forever, Minho replied. But this will last long enough for the next generation to build something better. Captain Lee Jae-won appeared beside them. The Outer Rim Coalition has requested negotiations. They want to discuss joining the Assembly. All of them. All except the hegemony of Velthara. They still claim to be the legitimate council government. Engineer Kim Nari smiled. Let them claim whatever they want. They control 3 star systems. We represent 3,000. Colonel Park Hyun-woo was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Sir, we are receiving reports of first contact with a new species beyond the galactic rim. They are requesting assembly mediation for their integration into galactic civilization. Send a diplomatic mission, Minho ordered. Full honors, complete technology transfer, voluntary association protocols. Yes, sir.